Welcome back, guys, to the Bear Podcast Show with me, Sean Scullion, aka the Handsome Stranger, Owen Mallon, aka the Bear, and today on the show we have Fergal and Stephen from the Whistling Donkeys. Welcome, lads.
Good stuff, lads. Good to be here.
I laughed. Sean put in the group the other day, any word in the donkeys, and I was like, I goes, oh fuck, he's actually genuinely, because Sean was like, he's genuinely means this, and then because we were trying to figure out, there's quite a few. We're trying to figure out how many mics, so we're now at our limit with two. We were firing in a few more.
Right.
But guys, welcome on.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We're recording here on the bank holiday weekend, so we weren't sure. We'll give you a day's grace. We know you will be busy over it, but so you're flat out. You're everywhere I look.
Hi, busy, kept going, thank God. Yes, people are still buying the tickets, and we're still happy to sing for them or
Nice
play
to
for
be
them.
back on the road.
Yeah, it is definitely. I missed it now. Missed it big time.
Weird. I always hate going on about it because I think it's a fucking negative, and at some point in history we're going to look back at where we all got fooled, and well, even now we're already looking back going, what were we doing? But at some point we'll look back at this and it'll be in the history books where the whole world got fooled. But it was a bad old time. You didn't get much support or just no work. Go home.
No work. Well, like myself and Steve, we came. We both worked and we had trades behind us. Like, so we weren't so bad. We were fit to go back and lift the tools and go back to work. Like, but I know a lot of musicians that struggled like that. You would have seen the boys over the couple of years doing the online tip jar thing, like, and that's what they were surviving on. Like, they had nothing else. Like a lot of them.
It definitely raised the profile of quite a couple of boys.
100%.
Even like. Was it Dan McCabe or someone, and all of a sudden they just come to the forefront.
Yeah, we recorded a few songs this last while there with we girl from Cork, may have Walsh, like too. Like, she came up, we've seen hers. That's where we come across her stuff too. Like, lovely singer, you know.
It's funny because it is. Maybe it suited a solo act more online as opposed to a band. You know, in a band, I love a band for it creates an atmosphere.
Oh, 100%.
But it's harder to do that through the camera as opposed to, if it's a single voice or, if you're interacting with the crowd and I've been at your concerts, it's more an interaction, it's a crack, it's building an atmosphere. It's harder to do.
Even the online thing as well. We, like myself, Stevie lives only over the H me too, and we did talk about doing this, but like for us, it wouldn't be the same without the rest of the boys there, and if we couldn't do it with everybody, we done one, like we did a big studio and done a thing for charity for a girl down in Galway, and we'd done it and we had a great night at it now because the whole lot of us were there and we were all fit to do the whole thing spaced out and all the rest. Like, but as far as the the weekly online thing, it would have been just me and Steve, and it wouldn't have been the same at all,
Well, we'll go back to the start because I just jumped right in there, but we'll go back to the start and how you come into the playing music and how do you form. And better still, I love the name. I actually love the name.
I hate it.
I love the name.
Who came up with the name then?
That's probably my fault.
I think that's class. It's funny, and I always said to somebody, if you have an animal or an object in the name and keeping it short, it'll be easy remembered,
Yeah.
Stevie keeps trying to think of all these reasons to come up with a name, but really I think just the hamster in his head fell off the wheel as he was about to say something, and that's what came out.
I think he turned around and he said on the phone to the missus or something, I'm way into these donkeys. Oh, wait there a minute. Hold on.
Actually, we were sitting together when he suggested the first night. He says, if you think I'm going to step on stage in a band called Whistling Donkeys, you're mental.
And it's stuck.
Here we are, 10 years later.
I think we're doing a gig moving a wee pub. It was King's Bar in Fitner, and the fella phoned us on a Tuesday and he goes, Stephen, we have to get a name for this band in the paper on Tuesday. And he goes, what? I says, hey, put in the fucking Whistling Donkeys. I says, there. And I might have been on the paper and this man was stone metal. Hey, we went to the gig and it was packed out that night.
Oh, class.
So is that when you formed then? What, so 10 years?
Probably what happened first was I always would have, me and him went to school together, and as I say, we only live over the H with stuff, so even through school and stuff, me and him would have played a bit of like the odd song or maybe a party or something like that there. If there was a party in my family house or whatever, I would have got him over and he'd play the guitar. And then there was another friend of ours had a band, and the singer left that band, so they asked us if we would join. So we joined that, but it didn't last that long. And then myself and Steve decided then we had a young banjo player from Dunmore, Tomas, that plays the banjo with us now. He was only 18 or so at the time. So we started then, and it was only the three of us, like, and we just sort of picked up another member as we went along. You know, that's how it went. But even at that stage, like, it was even a couple of years after that, before we even really had a name, we just sort of played.
It's a 4-piece. It's Tomas and what do you call it?
The 6-piece. So there's Tomas and Mickey plays the fiddle, and then there's Danny plays the bass, and Oscar plays the drums. Right. So then there's us two as well. So there's 6 of us.
We definitely would need to get the studio bigger, but we should get all the boys in some evening for a bit of crack. We'll get you up in the TV studio. We'll do one with
100%.
Oh, I know.
But so it just came about organically like that. Were you always into music? Did it was it a family thing?
Always loved music. And like me father and mum would always been listening to music in the house, and my father, God rest him, used to always say that I went out to work in the morning singing and come back home and I was still singing in the evenings. You know, so I always would have been singing, like, but I never. Even it took me, once a week get into the band, it took me a long time to get used to singing with the compliment, like, you know.
And did your family pass it down to you, as in, you know, the instruments that you would have played?
Not so much, no, because like I have foot on the guitar, but I wouldn't be a musician as such, like, so it would have been just more that the music was always there, you know, and I have a couple of brothers and stuff that play in bands and play a bit of music too, but even them lads are younger than me, you know, but there was just always that culture of music, and we at parties and stuff, there was always a bit of a sing-song in the house, you know.
Yeah, because it's funny, because my father and his brothers and all play instruments, like play guitar, keyboard, the whole lot, and it's never been passed down to any children.
Is that right?
I don't know whether they didn't.
You were giving off about that one time. You thought it was sad. He was like, you know,
I thought it was sad, you know, that they all knew how to play instruments, and never was passed down to any children. None of the children at all. But then maybe they're just too busy working.
Ah, that's it. That's
you know,
life. Life's getting busier.
Fit into
it. What about yourself? Was it a family thing, or did you learn in school, or?
No, I suppose music was sort of. I mean, my granny, God rest her, she was 83 years of age, and I mean, you know, some of us got a keyboard from Santa, you know, and we had it all set up, and I mean, granny came along, and she played Old Annie Boy on the piano, and I was like, Jesus, didn't know granny, you know, but just that music was always sort of in the family, you know, sort of, but my mum and daddy never played no music, you know, but again, we just, you know, being in school, we had that interest, and we had a bit of crack, and
get a lack of gears from it.
That was probably the big draw for Steve.
I joined the school choir, you know, and they gave me a fucking triangle.
Actually,
that was the limit of my music ability.
When I was in primary school, I was just talking about this the other day. There was a school play was on, and the teacher handed me a triangle to play it. I had no idea what I was supposed to do with it. She had to take it off me.
Your claim to fame. Couldn't play a triangle.
Couldn't play the triangle. That's a true story.
But it was funny, even in our school, Sean, there was a very rich music element where, you know, and you could see then from young ones from more country, you know. We went to the school in the town here, and a lot more of the country ones would have been into music. And then you've seen that there would have been like a class of ones, then they went off and they started doing and playing, and then the plays and the shows and all. But like, we're steeped in it here now. Yeah. But the funny thing is, everything gets its turn and comes back around, doesn't it?
It does,
you know,
yeah.
Music and fashion and things like, you know, what style of music would you say? Because I know you play a variety of different, but the sound is it like a modern trad or something?
From if you ask each member, they'll probably have a different thing. But for me, like my thing was always the Dubliners and Christy Moore. That's me. So it was always folk music in my head that I wanted to do, and probably much the same. I can't speak for Stephen,
I know,
but I would
imagine.
Nice, but then the likes of Mick and Tomas would have been all just trad tunes and stuff, you know. And then Danny and Oscar would have played in rock bands and stuff. So they bring that sort of wee bit of a lift to it as well, you know.
But that's what I mean. Like it's come back around unbelievable, and it's funny because you would have thought that if you asked me, and I have like my music collection embarrasses me sometimes from what if somebody says
it embarrasses me too. To be fair,
if somebody says to you, "What are you listening to?" I'd have such a variety from country across the track. But this is what I was saying. It's young ones.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing. It's not the older ones that would have the first wave of it. It's the younger ones now, and they're mad for it. Like they're packing it out and going to
loving it, and they're loving it. I suppose that's just has to do with the songs, especially the Irish folk songs. I suppose it's always enjoyable to go and sing a song at a concert or all the rest. But when it's one that comes from your own culture and you have that bit more of a connection with it, I suppose the young ones are seeing that now too. That they. Maybe the last group of generation would have missed out on it.
And hey, see as you're turning around, you know, do you see a massive difference in the different crowds that you get to?
Massive,
like if you head down Cork or you head, you know, you play in a Cookstown.
Different. Like we played in I was telling you about playing in Carlow on Friday night, like, and it was electric night, like mighty night, and then you could go somewhere else where people maybe mightn't show it as much, but they'll come to you after the show and they'll be like, they'll listen, oh, that was unreal. That was
They're
some
there
show.
for the singing,
They're
just
there,
on
and
the
they
actual
they
music.
want to listen now, and that's probably something we've seen a bit more of this last while, especially since COVID. That our crowd have got that bit older, that they don't maybe just go as mental, but they still come on and they sing every word with us.
And then the dancers.
And then there's the dancers. Then there's the
There's
you
Curve
don't
Riley.
go all them.
Sieges.
But who's the organizer?
There's myself and Steve and Tomas take sort of like the three of us were there from the start, so we sort of take the lead and
Because it always needs that, like, doesn't it?
does.
It does.
And if you get a group of men together, I played rugby a lot, and we would organise tours, and we were over Spain, and I swear to God, sometimes it was like looking after children. It was mad. Like there had to be one or two that take the
lead.
The lead. But we were saying that the young ones and you're getting that interaction now. It's funny because everything's changed from when I was 18, 19. It was you got down to the Glenavon on a Saturday night and it was a disco. It was a disco. So you went to the pub, pre-drinks, Glenavon. They go to a pub, they stay in a pub now. There's no discos. That's dead. That's gone. There's none of that. But obviously, it's not as busy. The pubs aren't the way they were.
No.
There's less of them. But it seems to be the ones that are doing well are flying and bigger, and you're getting them nights. And then there's just less of the venues. But if you any in particular that you love just going to and playing and
The venues.
And you better say Cookstown.
no, you don't have to take it.
We actually, Cookstown is, see the Lanyon Hall, it was called. I think it's Clubland now.
Aye.
We don't always, when we come up, we don't always play in it, but if you get a good crowd in there, it is a brilliant night now. I'm not just saying that, like, but I don't know. It's hard to put it down to the venue, because sometimes it's more to do with the crowd, and sometimes it is more to do with the venue, and then sometimes you get them things to line up, and you get the right crowd and the right venue, and then there's nothing like it. Like,
We had a couple of comedians in here, and they said sometimes when it's too big or it's too many, it's not the same. Sometimes you get a better crack if you have because the people then that are there because you're there.
Yeah.
And it's more sometimes if you have a busy venue that's busy each week. It's not solely because they're there for what you're doing.
Yeah, well, that's one thing we found this last while is that we're sorry, Steve. I feel like I'm not giving Steve a chance.
I'm drinking coffee.
Since we started doing our own shows, so we're selling our tickets, so the people are coming to hear us. Like, so that's one thing that, and then I suppose even when you multiply that up too, sometimes there's a bit of a disconnect for me. I know I like that once it gets past a certain number.
I suppose I figured we done a gig in Newfoundland, Canada. And there's about 900 people in it, no? Or no, it was 450 the first time.
The first time we went out was about 350.
But I mean, that gig was probably one of our best gigs.
It was one of my favourite gigs ever. Like,
and there's 450 people in it, it was like a theatre, but it was just the atmosphere in that place was, and how we walked on stage and the whole crowd stood and clapped us, and it was just a moment, just.
Because you boys have played now, we're talking here, playing Cookstown, just you're for Australia, but we'll touch on that. But you have played around the world now.
Played everywhere. Well, not everywhere. I'm actually trying to get to Japan, but it's not working.
Your visa? Wants a cheap holiday. No, Stevie wants a cheap holiday. He says, "Can we get a gig over there?"
Is this how it works? Is this you're like, you know what? I've always wanted to go. Jesus, I hear there's an Irish bar out there that's bad luck on the book.
Well, I tell you about. I mean, we're up in Ferguson, and it was one of them thing in the world, that swings round, and he actually swung it round one time and just stopped it, and that was where we were going to go that year. So
it was a rack, so we didn't bother.
I thought you were going to say Carrickmore or something. Something similar. But so you've played and quite. So it must be some oil buzz. There must be a good oil confidence. I suppose you're past that now, but there must be, because there'd be a wee bit an element of when you say you're going to go to somewhere you haven't been before. There'd be an element of, fuck, what happens? Nobody buys a ticket. A wee bit. You're exposing yourself a wee bit, and you're like, fuck me, what happened? But there must be a quite oil buzz out of it when you're like, Jesus, that's done. That's sold out.
When they do buy the ticket, then that definitely does give you a lot of confidence now, and there's great satisfaction from it. Like, especially I always go back to that gig that Stevie's talking about in Canada, because it was on Newfoundland, which is an island off the coast, and then we were staying in the main city, which is St. John's, but the gig was about an hour out in the sticks, like, so it was a small theatre out there, like, but it was packed.
When you were getting there, where you're like, what the fuck?
It was real adventure, because we had to drive out. we had to drive out the road about an hour and a half. We had hired one of them big suburban jeeps, but the people were messaging into our Facebook page telling us to watch out for the moose on the road. We were like,
moose
we were
on
all
the loose.
glued to the window, but there wasn't a moose to be seen.
I'd be badly disappointed.
I kind of was.
I'd have reversed back down the road.
This man here was as close to the moose as I seen over there.
What'd you call her?
Shauna.
But hey, but I know you're saying that, and you'll have them memories. So, like, where have you? Obviously, you've done the States, haven't you?
We've done the States. We've done the States, but it's mostly always been on the East Coast. So I have sort of a bucket list of a few gigs that I would like to do over there. Sometime.
There's more. Like it would be expats. It would be people that and then I suppose the other thing I'm saying that to you be expats. America's well up, like. They, even descendants who, man, I'm 160. They're listening to the trial. They're well in it. And the thing about the internet now, it's not that you needed to get the CD sent over or
that's
or
it.
the thing.
It's a bit more accessible.
Anything's readily available. Like
if
you're on YouTube, you're buying 2 minutes later.
That's right.
But I take it you use Spotify and
Spotify and YouTube and.
Like it's changed. Everything's changed about it.
Well, it's just made it so easy now. Not easy. But I mean, you can do a song and people see it in Australia and see it all over the world. So it's just that whole.
It's interesting that when you say that about Spotify, because there's been a lot of the big names that are maybe lost out on their top 2 or 3 million or whatever that are giving out about because all the money they're getting from the streams on Spotify. But for bands like us or for bands that are starting out, there's like the reach from Spotify and that there, like there's a lot of bands that never would have got their break without the likes of them streaming services. Like I don't care what anybody says.
No, but as you say, it's just made it easier. Like if people are going to be listening to this now, and some that haven't listened, the first thing they're going to do is pull out the phone, hit Spotify.
She says so.
Whistling Donkeys. Drop
Sure,
G.
was it this year or was last year? Was it 8 million streams there on Spotify?
That's mad, isn't it? When you say that, like
Do you find that all changed then before the pandemic? You know what I mean? You were gigging a lot, and then that 2 years, say, did you have to start mixing up a wee bit or trying to get more on social, or what? Did you start? You take a well-earned break.
It's probably something we should have been probably pushed more. We probably should have been, but. Like for me, I always want to think. I don't like pushing it too much. I like to see where it goes organically. I suppose I know you have to push it. You do have to push it a bit. Like there's no, you can't be lazy either. But I don't like ramming down people's throat.
But there's a few. I would say to you, from the other side, there's a few very we know, and it's very business orientated. The way they're very well. They're machines now. A lot of there's some acts just traveling around Ireland, and they're well-oiled machines because they're maybe thinking to themselves, right, if this trend's a 10-year, 11-year, or something, we're pushing and pushing and pushing, but it doesn't seem to be. If anything, it's getting bigger and bigger. But it would have interrupted the momentum, wouldn't it, of the growth?
Oh, it definitely did. Like that, we had done so most of our gigs, Stevie would have been in like Tyrone, not even from Tyrone, Donegal and Derry. Like before the thing, but in 2019 we decided we were going to hit every county in Ireland. Should there be bad gigs or should nobody? And as we progressed through that, even we could see the gigs, the numbers growing as we went on, And then we were just ready then to go back into them venues and hopefully sell them all.
You were coming back,
but it was the rug was pulled out from under us, I suppose. But
it's you got a tour, but don't you? There's some miles involved in it.
A lot of travel. It's just the gigs now, even in Ireland, like you're leaving the house at 12, 1 o'clock in the day to do a gig at night at 9 o'clock. It's just that long traveling you're doing, but it's all part and parcel,
But like, it seems everyone you say, oh, I'm playing here on a Saturday, I'm playing here on a Friday. Like sometimes if you're saying, oh, you're traveling, it sounds a lot more glamorous than the actual logistics that's behind it. And you're like, you're up, you're gone.
Yeah.
And like,
but that's until the middle of the night and the knickers are getting fired at you boys. Has that ever happened?
You don't want to see them. You wouldn't be trying them on anyway.
Apparently they thought it was a cover for the drum kit. That was Newfoundland. But then, very closely linked hand in hand with the trad scene and the folk scene is Paisley. That's
Pints.
That's the music was round sitting having. So it'd be a hard old job there if you says, you know what, we're finished up here, we'll have a couple, and then the next thing you're on the road again, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Like, oh, it's tough.
Tough going there.
Stevie looked at me and goes, tough, but I do it. But some of us have to carry that crown.
You see a few extra grey hairs in Stevie's head there this year. He's getting too old for it now, but that's it too. But I suppose that's one thing the boys have learned over this. I'm not a big drinker myself now. I don't really bother about it too much, but I know these boys seem to have learned this last while that if we're away on the road, to try and get the work done first and then have there's a balance, like you have to get.
We're the exact same, you know. We keep telling the women, you know, the way.
Sean's the balance. I'm the Stevie. It's a hard crime, but I'm But it look, listen, too, as you get older, Jesus, it's taking you to Wednesday now to recover from what you used to. You used to wake up on Sunday and by 3 o'clock, you know, you could have beat down the town and took an hour for you, but now, if I head out on Saturday, it could be Wednesday before I'm thinking right or even feeling right. But see, they're a very knowledgeable music crowd around here. There's a high level of standard. Like, that's what I mean. Like, they would know the words, they would know the songs, they'd know what they like. You know, you can't just, like, me and Sean couldn't just fire one together. Like, it wouldn't be easy to go to some of them venues because they do expect the very best of the best. And, like, do you ever get it? Have you ever went somewhere and you're just didn't get the interaction with? You're just like, that was a damn squid.
Not too often, I have to say. There's been what we used to do when we started out. Suppose we would play at a few weddings, like, and been a few of them where we thought,
weddings are a funny thing. Like the comedian said there's
a good as any gig. Like, a good wedding's as good as any gig, but there's bands that are cut out for weddings, just like, and I hadn't the personality for it anyway. And I don't know if these boys were as fussed on it, but I hadn't the personality for it at all.
No, weddings were very tough. You know, it was a type thing too where, you know, things started running behind time, and then when people have their dinner, well, sure, they're not in a position to get up on the dance floor, you know, and it's just, you're sitting playing in the band for 20 minutes into your set and people still half sleeping on the table, and it's just...
I couldn't hide it then. I get frustrated then. I couldn't hide it. I'd be kicking stuff off the stage.
Like, get your fucking sort of would you? Come on the fuck, Granny, pick up the tape and get out of here. But the problem is too, the range of the wedding. You know, if you're going to a thing and you could say it's between 18 and 32 is the average age, but a wedding, you have your great granny over there and you have the kids. And
hey, we used to do waltzes and you know, I mean, you had to do them things for everybody. You tried to play for everybody, you know. But
I've been back to what you're saying about people buying the tickets. Once we got to the stage where we were like, people were buying tickets to come and see us, and then you were going to a wedding that were people who were just there because you were only there because, you know, that.
And they only found out halfway through the speeches who's playing this here. What's on Donkeys? That's something.
Once we get used to the gigs.
That's not the first time he sang that.
That's Stevie's harmonies. That's all you get from him.
Hard to beat.
So I know, because with the comedians on, this says weddings or corporate gigs, they're dead. Have you ever been booked for the wrong crowd? Have you ever been like, someone's booked you and you're like, we weren't suited till they weren't ready for us?
I can't think of one. There's no real bad gigs like that stand out. We've had a couple of nightmare experiences through other things, but I can't say that we've had a gig where we've just thought like the thing just didn't go well, you know. Not off the top of my head anyway.
They're not doing any bad advertising around here.
There's been a few where I've forgotten lyrics and forgotten words and stuff like that. Now,
you tell me you didn't drink. There's no excuse there. I often thought that, right? Like, I genuinely, driving along, right? I'm a big country man, so I'd have a lot of country playing. And I'd be singing away. I'd say about 65% of the words I do know, but that doesn't stop me from singing away whatever words I thought I know. But like, how many songs would you play in a set? Is it the same set each night? Is it? Or similar?
It'd be based around the same thing, and then we'd throw in, depending on where we were playing, it would change.
And it's hard to change about because people are coming. Like, I remember I went to Gareth Brooks in Florida, and he turned around and he says,
he's just throwing that in there, Gareth Brooks in Florida.
I didn't want to do the Dublin thing. Because I got caught badly there. This is how. So I thought, never fucking come back here. I ain't going to go there. But one night I was sitting drinking. So as you do, sitting drinking away and put the Alexa on. So sitting drinking away, and I thought this would be a great idea. And I woke up the next morning and I got this message saying, "You're in." I was like, "In where?" So it was like, "You're in Gareth Brooks, right?" And I was like, "Why is that in fucking dollars?" And sweet Jesus. It just come back to me and like a flood. So the night before, I was like, and I remember turning to the missus and saying, "Do you think you could get a few days off?" When? 2 weeks time. wait, where are we going? Florida. She goes, you what? I goes, I booked Garth Brooks for Florida. So I went over thinking he's never coming here. And then fucking about 2 months after he come back, he's coming to Ireland. I goes, oh, you rotten bastard.
I want to hear more about this because I'd say that's not the first time that's happened.
And it genuinely isn't the first time.
Jars
and booking stuff.
Oh, aye.
And then I've done that. I've done this more times, so I genuinely have to take the phone away. Because I could wake up and I could be going anywhere. Not as bad now. You see, with 2 children, that soon slows down. How much you're going to have that night to be booking flights. But see there, have you any bucket lists of where you'd want to go out and play? Where you'd want to tick off? I suppose he's getting rightly through them. Davey's picking where he wants to go on holidays and he's just finding a bar in the yard.
I suppose probably America. We still have a lot to do in America yet. Maybe Ohio and places like that there. We haven't hit yet, but no, we have everything else covered. At the stage.
Good day, happy man. I see.
So the Australia, it's in a few weeks, is it?
It's 2 weeks. 2 weeks from yesterday. Well, we fly out 2 weeks, so it's 2 weeks from this Thursday, the first game.
It'll be this week, guys. When you're listening to it, it'll be this week. If you want to grab a couple of last minute tickets, we'll put the links on and
so originally, like usually that all planned, but obviously that was the pandemic come, so that had to be changed.
2020.
You were due to go on tour.
We were supposed to go that April, and then the lockdown came in March.
We'd all sold out for that too.
So. You know what? You have to.
Denim actually said, "Look, we'll get you a refund sort of sometime." I'll see you in Melbourne in a bar there. It was probably a bit of a blessing in disguise because we learned things that we should have done, and we knew that we could have went for bigger venues and stuff too. So it sort of worked out for the best, maybe in the long run, but it would have been good to get that time all the same. But we're looking forward to it now. A good oil endorsement, a good oil thing, knowing you sold out, you're like, fuck that, I knew we could have done now a couple of 100 seats, so let's go somewhere bigger this time. But you're going back out, or you're going out, it's a tight out schedule, isn't it?
It is. There'll be no messing about now. It'll be, so we land on Tuesday night.
Maybe that crown will be heavy by the time you get out of it.
No, his wife doesn't allow him to drink this.
Do you tell the wife the same story me and Tommy tell in ours? It's all worse kind of bottles of water.
I hope she doesn't listen to this podcast about it like that.
I tell you ever see this is the thing men do. Women do it too. They do it too, but they don't. But do you ever have something coming up like? I'm probably giving it away, but my woman doesn't listen to me anyway. She doesn't listen to me at home. She doesn't listen to me in this. But you have something planned, and you're like, "Oh fuck, I couldn't see that far enough." And then I'd be texting the lads in the rugby group, going, "Fuck, boys, I'm like a kid at Christmas." You tell her, "Fuck, I'm way out here to work, and I couldn't fucking see it far enough." And he skips out the door. Maybe have the same I'll carry on too,
Okay, that's definitely it. I mean, like, Jesus, we're looking at a penthouse to stay in, maybe in Brisbane, out in the Gold Coast.
You're struggling.
On the other hand, you're telling the wife, fuck, hit the thought of this travel and stuff. And
tents and sleeping bags.
But then you blind by the pool then for 2-3 days after.
And the fucking FaceTime ring and clean off the phone. But it's intense before up on that. So what is the schedule?
So we land on Tuesday night. We have Wednesday off then, and then we have a gig in Perth on Thursday. We have a gig in Melbourne on Friday, gig in Sydney on Saturday, and a gig in Brisbane on Sunday.
Jesus,
so we're right across the country, 4 gigs.
But you make it sound like, I'm in Galway, and then I'm in Kildare, and then I'm up and through. I think it's a bit.
Somebody should have sat us down and looked at a map before we done this.
But you'd be fucked either road. You'd rather
well, that's it.
It's one of those. Like,
what you do.
You get like the difference with yours is an adrenaline too. You can be wrecked before you go on, and then
the worst part of it is, the worst part of it is standing waiting in an airport. Like that's the most exhausting part of the whole. For me, it is anyway. Like, but once we get there, the first flight from Perth to Melbourne, hopefully once we get that over, it'll be plain sailing after that.
Right. But a good old feeling that it's completely the other side of the world and people are buying your tickets.
That's it.
When you set off in fentanyl, like, and you're joking about putting that in, like, if you were to say that you're going to the other side of the world and you're selling.
Well, that's it. I mean, when you look back when you played your wee gig in Kings Bar years ago, to playing from Kings Bar in Fitna to going to sell a tour out in Australia, it's just a massive achievement for us, and it's something we never thought would happen in our lifetime, but it's just the way it went,
But that's class. It because it's sort of like, I don't really, you don't think too much about it, and you get hung up. But sometimes, we were saying this, you're speaking to people that perform, or we were speaking to Tom O'Toole there, who's playing Ireland in the Grand Slam, and when you're doing them things, it's just an hour day and you're working. It'll only be after a while when you sit back and say, fuck, we're selling out there and we're selling out here and we're here and we're there. Like it's some achievement when you're setting
and that's the thing. That's another thing that came from me from the whole lockdown too. Is that once we went back on the road again, I made a point of saying to myself that I'm gonna like take a second in every gig and just understand that you're lucky to be here and enjoy every minute of it. Like so, just to make sure I'm conscious and aware of it all the time. Like is a big thing for me.
And what about have you plans for what you are going to do over the next couple of years, or are you just seeing where is it one of those a journey and seeing where we go?
That's kind of what has worked for us. Like Stevie talked about playing in the bars when we started out, and then once we filled them, we says, you know what, we'll try and go here, and we just kept going like that, and it worked for us for now. Like we didn't, as I say, we didn't force it or we didn't push it. We just sort of seen where it took us, and it's worked so far. So we'll probably keep going in the same vein.
Probably, at every stage there, I say when you're starting out, I mean, the time the opportunity came there to play in the Pulse in Eri Kenny, and I mean, us boys, we're thinking, Jesus, it doesn't get any bigger than this, because we thought the Pulse in Eri Kenny, we're now the Pulse in Eri Kenny is just an everyday gig for us, but and you keep hitting stages along the road where you say, Jesus, I mean, the ANC in Killarney, we sold it out at 4,000 something people, and you're thinking, can you actually do that? But
how far can we push this envelope?
You sort of just take a stage at a time, and you just sort of come with them challenges when they come,
But that is class, and that's it's a well known venue. Like you're saying, Pulse, because I always remember, especially around Donegal Rally Weekend, things like that there, and you always remember that it's a big venue. They only bring good, and then you're like, right, we ticked that. And we filled that, and there were still people looking to see. So we're going to have to take that somewhere. And plus, not just being greedy, and I don't mean greedy. If this is your business, you want to, but there's people that want to come and see you. You want to make sure that you can accommodate everyone that wants to come and see.
Yeah.
If there's 4,000, if there's 10,000 in that town, you're like, Jesus.
If I have 10,000 that want to see you, want to make sure they all get a ticket. Like, that's
and even yet there for ourselves too. Especially up around home, the older people, 60 plus mark, and they'll not go to pubs to see us, and we still do a wee theatre there in Oma, we're in a skill for them people, to summer, to keep them, because I mean, if you're playing venues at 1,000, 2,000 people, they're not going to come and see you, but the venue holds 300 people, and we still do that every year if we can around Christmas time, and it sort of keeps them very happy too, So.
But would you have many jiving there? Yours is very fast, but isn't it?
Not so much jive, not a lot of jiving anymore. No, I wouldn't say.
Quick steps, isn't it?
No, I've seen it's more like a mosh pit and something like that. But it's funny the resurgence that's got. I know yours, the tempo and the night, and yours is a bit, it's not the same. But I've seen the resurgence of some of these nights, and you just be like, it's nearly like a cult type thing, isn't it? You see these lads, the Moy is a crazy old spot, isn't it? It's a crazy spot. One man, 5 shirts, and a good pair of dealer boots are going to wear that shade out of them. And you know what? We're going to see them all in the Balmore this week. But it's funny because it's not just you would see even in yours. I went a lot. We went to the one you're talking about in the Lanyon Hall when lockdown was just over, and you played. We were at it, and it's not just ones that's going for the drink either. There's a lot of ones there that are there. They love the music and they're there for the crack. There's I was surprised how many was driving and how many weren't drinking. No, I'm only joking. We wouldn't do it. But you know what I mean. And especially you see the shows like that, them young lads and the country shows and coming back, and there's a resurgent in that type of music. That's more going towards the country, not as much the folk. But there's a massive resurgence. We're saying that there, but it's not just we're going out in the rip and this is the thing, but that's what I'm saying. People are coming for the music and the atmosphere of it.
You definitely you probably get both sides of the coin. You do get people that are just there because they know they're going to have a good night's crack, and then maybe the other 70% then are there because they'll stand and listen and they'll sing every word with you, the whole night.
And another thing that shocks me too is say for example we played in the Barlands in Glasgow. There's people that come from Ireland to Scotland for that one gig that the Donkeys do in the Barland. And same, if we were playing down the south there, you get people that come over, from England, Birmingham, different places.
They're not going to they're making a night away of it, but knowing they're going to get good entertainment.
But they're making their...
Because that actually sounds a good crack heading away for somewhere. Yeah. There's some, because at least it's going to be good.
That's right.
Well,
as a head away somewhere, and it's going to be, you don't know what it's going to be.
What's going to happen there?
I went till I was like, oh Jesus, hope they're not watching. I was over to Furia and the thing, and it was a guy I used to work with, and back in the 70s he had a punk band, right? And he was on top of the pops, but he got a deal with him, and he just says fuck the record label, and he fucked off to Spain and set up a bar, right? But really successful, went on. But as he got older, he decided he was going to do Resurgence. Now this man's in his close to his 80s, or he's in his 80s, and there he rocked up till the have a cassette in them international furias. They have, like, each country would have their own cassette. So there would be, the Irish one would have had Guinness, Irish stew, music. So it's food, music, and dance from local Finnish would have had their food, the music and dance. Brazilians, jerk chicken and samba and stuff like that. But I went in the British one, and your mom was doing a punk rock gig. So I need to set, I don't know how much I can set the scene here. He's in his 80s. The hair's dyed clean up. Oh, jeez, I hope he's not watching this. The hair's dyed clean up.
He knows you're talking about him.
It's 34 degrees, right? And the big leather jacket's on, the boots are on. It was only for the intro, the jacket come on, because nobody could relate to it. And I swear to God, it was that bad, it was good. Does that make any sense? And I was in fucking stitches. And one thing I have to say to you, for play that band, some engine in them. I mean, Jesus Christ, it was serious heat. You gotta fathom the heat that was in there. And this man just bobbed away for 2 hours, and I was thinking to myself, he is like, this could go badly wrong. Like,
we'll have to hear who this is after the show.
We'll take all this out anyway. This will just be for the crack for us. But it was like, we were away, and I was like, it was funny being away and laughing at. But I was like, Jesus, wouldn't it be? I actually thought this in my head, just as because the New Year's guys were coming on. I went down into the Irish one, and it was fucking brutal too. The music was brutal, and I actually was a wee bit embarrassed, because I was like, if people are coming around to this and they're looking at this here, they're going to be like, oh, so that's the way that is. And then your man finished the set, and he was speaking Spanish, so he wasn't Irish at all.
Right, okay.
And I was like, oh Jesus, but it not been deadly if they had flown someone out and set it up, and it wouldn't have worked because it wasn't big enough. Wouldn't.
Funny, that's what he's trying to, or he's wants to do, is run one of them weekends away in Spain or Portugal or somewhere.
Give us a wee shout whenever you're going, sure, and we'll tag along.
Listen. I know I know an outdoor venue in Spain. 100%.
And you're fluent in Spanish as well.
Oh, hold on, see. Look,
3 words.
Listen, I'll keep you right out there, lads. Don't worry, I'll not let them Spanish take their hand out of you. But something like that would be class.
Yeah.
But he obviously just wants to play around a golf or something out in the summer. and every time he wants to go somewhere, he's like, lads, I think it'd be great to play out there. I'd be the same. I'd be like, oh, Jesus, you know what? Corfu looks good, boy. But so just seeing how the journey goes, and it's mad. And like, do you you're bound to have secret places where you're like, I'd love to do that, or secret amount of numbers, I'd love to play that. What's the biggest numbers you played? That 4,000's a big.
Like, we've done one in Germany.
10,000.
10,000. We're actually going back out now in a couple of weeks' time. But it's a festival, big open air festival. And
they love their music, don't they?
Metal.
Irish music.
Dutch are mad too, you know.
We've never played. Oh, we did play in Holland.
Played in Holland. Played Holland a couple of
We did play in Holland.
I've never been, but actually people kept saying, and I couldn't get Luke home tickets for here, so I actually got Luke home for Amsterdam, and I was like,
that was one night that he was sitting having a few vods. And he booked one out as well.
Just picture this, right? When I say it out, it doesn't sound as such a good idea as when I was sitting there and I was like, can't believe we can't go to Belfast. And then I was like, that's a fucking shithole anyway, you know, start getting annoyed now. Shithole anyway, and there'll probably be nobody there, there'll be no crack anyway, and there'll be no atmosphere. The man will be scundered. The next thing just was going on, it was like tickets are available in Amsterdam, and I was like, Dutch a good owl, me never there, like good owl spot. Then go back and tell the wife, like, hey, you know, the worst thing is I'll just get her high if she doesn't want it. But no, so Germany, 10,000 people.
Aye. It's different now. It's definitely.
Aye, because they're not up there. I don't mean that's where they weren't. They were there as a festival, and you were playing it, so it's not your entire.
And then
but that's class too, because people go away from that and go, fuck, I remember it's not the same, but you know, when I went to gigs to see the main act, sometimes I'd come away and saying, Jesus, they were class, and then I've started listening to them and went to see them then when it was their show.
Yeah. But we went, like, we talked about that there was 10,000 people, but like once you get past a certain number, it's hard to tell the difference. Because we done after one of the first gigs we done after the lockdown as well was in Derry up in Ebrington Square, and there was like 5,500 that like, but they were there because Because we were there, like it was our we were the.
But that'd have been class playing then, because that's a deadly spot. Like
it was something else. It definitely was. It was something else.
I went to a thing there one time. I think you're right. I put a song in it.
I could have done it.
I was for the Justice for that Larry McKee thing, and they had a walk thing, and he sung in it, and it was like an impromptu. They got it together, and then all of a sudden, that square was filled, and I was like, I remember sitting going, this would be some spot for a concert. The outdoor ones are classic.
The outdoor ones are deadly when they come off right like that. There, that one that night was something else. Now
you need weather, but
always up for the crack.
You need weather.
You need the weather. Like this country's a nightmare for that. Like if it pisses down on people, it's hard to get people and them slipping and sliding through it. Like
it's hard to know, but we haven't really been caught out with the weather yet, and the outdoor ones, not that I can think of off the top of my head. We've always got away all right.
Well, when we'll get you starting sleighing, and we'll come there. So when are you next playing local?
I'm no good at even knowing where we're playing.
I'd say you don't.
We're over in Donegal. We're in Armore now. This Saturday.
See, this is what me and Sean will do now. We'll be like, oh, Jesus, that's why we're like that now to the women. I'd feel like we need to go.
Show your
face. Jeez, I couldn't see it far enough. Hey. And we'll be down. But
there's a big one coming up in Spain that I think we'll have to go to.
I think the lads need me out to translate.
Sponsored by the Bear Podcast.
So the last time we were out in Dubai, was it? And then I was chatting my wife here and at home, and I said, "Fuck this place, was far too hot and stuff." And I wouldn't be bothered with it, and stuff.
She's gonna hear this, Stevie.
I know.
No, don't worry, I'll not do you like that. Actually, you know what? I'm not adding. You probably will get done, Stevie here. But.
And then the next thing you're drinking a bottle of beer at the swimming pool and stuff, and I mean, it's just.
And you're like, this is a bit surreal. Do you not? And I suppose it's not as easy to turn around and say, "Oh, we're going to some of them. I'll stay on 2 days and come you out and that sort of way."
Well, me and Steve both have children too, so it's a bit harder then, But we done that last year actually in New York. We were supposed to be going for a wedding, but the wedding didn't come off, and then we had the weekend booked off. So we just went. We got a gig in New York City. We took the partners over with us. We had a good weekend.
I love that. There, you're like, you know what? I'm not working. I'm gonna get this fucking paid. I'll get my flight sorted out of it. It's like a 5 run. It's like a 5 run. I'll cover as long as I cover the flight time. But no, hey, that's class. It's class then too that you're well enough now known and established that you can turn around and just phone like a good big bar up there and say, "Hey, we have a free weekend. We'll be about."
Yeah, it's good. It was good. It was a really good gig that actually too.
So Australia, we must put up the links till the Australia gig. We're actually gonna, if we'll need to speak to them about copyright, but we're gonna get a couple of your songs that get in before the podcast list finishes out, and you can put in a couple of songs. And thing. But look, boys, I've a good crack, and it's been great. Sean, have you any?
I'm just waiting for a wee song now, boys. I can sing along if you want.
You can hear me singing anything you want, but I think everybody would love to hear this man here singing.
Good man.
Acapella, boy, just bang her out.
But you have to slap the 25 note.
Wait till I get the triangle. He ain't allowed the triangle. But on a different note, you may hear these boys more often because I'm going to try and get them to do us an intro. So every week you're going to hear us. Boys, thanks very much for
it's been a pleasure. Thanks, lads.
And it's been good crack. And look, I'm looking forward. I couldn't say it far enough, hey, but I'm looking forward to going to one of your gigs. Good man, cheers, boys.
All the best, lads.
Whistling donkeys, ladies and gentlemen. As I was going over the Cork and Kerry mountains, I met